welcome. I'm glad that you all came this morning. I know you're probably thinking, why are we here? What is this coming from? Over the course of the last 6 months, I've had several students come to my office and tell me different things that made them feel a certain way. And just what can we do about that? And all of those conversations started out with something that probably wasn't positive for that student, but it was enriching to my life. And it's conversations that shouldn't just be held in my office. They should be held campus-wide with all of us. Yes, we are all different. God created us that way. I can just see God as He was creating us. I just imagine a toddler when they're making art and they're like, this is gonna be, why? Okay.
Yeah.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Sorry. Anyway, I just imagine God as He was creating all of us and how excited He was. And, I'm gonna make this person this way and uniquely beautiful, and this person this way, uniquely beautiful. And we all have something beautiful to bring to the table. And I don't understand why we shy away from conversations about race and what makes us beautiful. Because if we believe in our Creator, He created us beautiful. But that sometimes means that we have to have hard conversations. And all of those conversations that I've had with students circle back to people can't do anything about things they don't know about. And so it's educating each other on the different places that we come from. The four of us who sit up here, we all come from very different backgrounds. And it's just sitting down and talking about that and listening to each other and what, each of us had to go through. And so yes, today we have started with Aaron and Byron, and we just have questions that we just want to talk freely through, and and we realize that Aaron and Byron do not have the same opinion as everyone out there, and that's fine too. It's just a matter of hearing each other and starting conversation. So with that being said, I would like Aaron and Byron to tell us a little bit about where they come from.
So I come from Indianapolis, Indiana. The area that I'm from, it is a more urban area where we really didn't have much. The police wasn't as present in my neighborhood as it was other places in Indiana, and also where I'm from, it's very diverse. I have all races, and I've always grew up around them. My whole life, I've been around all types of people. And growing up, I grew up personally not having much, not having a lot of people to go to, not having no guidance really growing up. It was it's kind of like a trap where I'm from, but I got out of it. Byron.
So I come from Houston, in between Houston and Galveston. Like Aaron, I grew up decent, but not to where I've had everything that I always wanted. But the people around me were very diverse, from very different cultures. And in my neighborhood, there wasn't really police involved, but maybe the neighborhood next door, you see them every 2 minutes. Just growing up was, you just got used to stuff, usually. So, you just, just throw it away.
Right. And where I grew up, there's absolutely no diversity at all. And so coming to McPherson is really the most diversity that I experienced, and then traveling, and that's how really I've been enriched. So we're going to start out with some kind of easy questions, and then try to dive into some maybe tougher questions, and realize we only have an hour, so we're not probably even going to raise the surface here. But one question, Aaron, that you and I talked about is people coming up to you and asking you if they can touch your hair. Tell me about that.
Okay, so when I do wear my hair natural, wear my hair in afros, big afros, or even sometimes when I do my long braids. I had an experience one time when I was at Walmart, and this lady was just amazed by my hair. Like, she was just, it was something foreign to her, it looked like. And she felt like it was okay to just come up to me and touch my hair and start groping my hair. And, like, that's not the first time that that's happened to me, and that's not the first time I've seen that happen. Even with my mom with her locks, people just randomly come up and touch her hair that didn't ask, and it comes off as rude, and you know what I'm saying. So when people ask me that, I feel like that they're looking at me as like it's an exotic feature when it's just a part of me. Like, all of our hair is different. God made us all different with different hair types, different skin colors, and all that. And you know, when they do seem, or I don't know, it's just, you know, I don't know how to explain.
So what you're saying, make sure I
Thank you.
make sure I understand, because believe it or not, people don't come up to me and want to touch
That's
my
weird.
hair. It's craziness.
Yeah.
That's never happened to me in Walmart. So what I hear you saying, you're like, oh, you still have some. Good for you. What I hear you saying is that that's not cool and don't do that.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yes. It's offensive, not offensive, but it definitely makes me feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It makes me feel like, okay, you know, you're pointing out what makes me different. And even though it's beautiful, you know.
Yeah. Aaron, has anyone ever asked to touch your hair?
Maybe a few times. Because I know I've been through so many different hair types. I've had, you know, low cut, waves, dreads, braids, you know, twists or whatever. And I don't know if y'all ever seen Karate Kid, you know, can I touch your hair? And stuff like that. Like, he's like, what? Like, that's like your initial reaction. So like, when I hear it, I'm like, what's so like crazy about it that you want to touch it? You know, like, it's just a part of our life. Like, we do this every day. Something.
Yeah. Like, you're open to questions about your hair. Just like, stay out of my bubble.
Yeah.
Exactly.
No, that seems like common sense, but and then we also talked about like other features that maybe you've had certain questions about, or your friends have had questions about. Do you want to speak to that a little bit?
So, my freshman year here, me and some of my friends were, you know, just walking around downtown, and these two ladies approached us and was talking to one of my teammates, and we're asking them, like, why are your lips so big? Or, like, why is your teeth so big? And, like, he would smile and just be like, like, whatever you talking about. And then she'll be like, oh my gosh, your gums are so black. And just stuff like that. But like, in the moment, you're just like, I don't know. But, like, once you start thinking about it, I'm like, why would you even ask somebody that, you know? So it's just stuff like that. It's just, like, growing up, you hear that all the time, so it's just, like, passes through. Like, you just don't think about it. It's, like, one in one ear and one out the other. But, like, coming here where it's, like, little diversity in the community itself, like, you really start thinking about it deeply. So it's just stuff like that is just, you know, ticks people off.
What I've heard both of you say as we've talked is that that's an example of some of the things that have happened here on campus, to where in the moment there's almost a shell shockness to like, wait, did that really just happen? And then the moment passes, and once you've had time to process it, you're like, wait, no, that wasn't okay. And
how do you go back
and
to
then
that?
and how do you go back to that moment that in the moment you're like, did that really just happen? How do you go back and re-enter a conversation that for other people might have been past? Am I representing that correctly?
Yeah. The way that, like, I don't know, I always take time to go and think about what was just said, what just happened to me, and what's the best way I can handle this situation. Every time. And then I'll go and confront or ask, hey, or tell them, hey, this wasn't appropriate and this isn't okay and this is how I feel about it and this is how it's insulting to me and my people and my roots. But I deliver it correctly, professionally, in the best way that I can so they won't take offense to what I'm saying and so they won't close off. I make sure I deliver it.
Well,
best
and
as I
too,
can.
like you can look back and say, okay, I presented myself in a way that I can hold my head high, and what they did with that information, that's
Their
for them to
choice.
process.
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am.
Yeah, absolutely. Another thing that we talked about was,
We kind of started easy, just for everyone in the room. Like, we're like, hey, let's do some softball ones, like hair. So there's a shift here coming,
Yeah.
and
so another one that we talked about kind of right off is, do you prefer to be identified as African American or Black? Whoever wants to go first.
you are answering for all people of color. So
Yes,
whatever
this
you
is the
say,
set answer.
yeah.
I personally would prefer to be identified as African American. I feel like when you identify somebody as African American, it's very hard for that to sound offensive, rather than being identified as Black. Even though I love my Blackness, and Black in general just means power, and the root of Black is so beautiful. Coming from somebody else that doesn't look like me, it could sound offensive if they're just talking about, well, this Black girl right here, or this Black lady right here, instead of this African American young woman or this African American girl. It's hard for that to sound offensive over than just saying Black. Even though Black is beautiful, and I do identify as Black and African American, it's just the delivery can be weird, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
And
Oh, you disappeared.
yeah, I did.
Hello?
Byron's
We
mic
need Byron
doesn't
back.
work.
Hello. All right, I'm good. So,
There you are.
I mean, the same thing as Aaron said, but to me, it's more of a tone when you say Black, like that Black boy or, that Black girl over there. But, I mean, African American is more of a professional tone. So, I mean, me personally, I'd be okay with African American or Black. It's just the way you say it to me or try to describe me.
That was super helpful for me. So when the four of us were talking, and I had asked, I said, look, I was in a room one time where the person presenting was talking about African Americans, and somebody in the room who is an African American yelled back, and they were like, Black. So then I'm like, oh, well, what? I want to enter a conversation and make sure I'm being respectful to the people that I'm talking to. And so, Aaron, for you to walk me through that, it's like, oh, that was super helpful for me.
Okay. So you and I also talked about this because there are derogatory words in our heritage. You know what I'm talking about. So people outside of that culture look in and say, why do you use that word still? So can you explain that to everyone?
So the word we're talking about here, it's one word that ends with an ER and the other one ends with an A. I'm saying. Okay.
Whatever you're comfortable with.
So the word nigger, I'm gonna just say it. This is gonna be a blunt conversation, and this is the best way I can educate you guys. The word nigger stems, was created to hurt our people and was created to tear us down. Well, we switched it to the one that ends with an A, to kind of bring us together and to unify us as a group. That's why you may hear it in some raps. I know a lot of people have questions. Well, if this word is bad, why do I hear it in raps, and why do I hear it all around? Well, we transform that word, and that's how we greet our brothers and sisters, kind of like that's how we're all as one. I believe that word shouldn't be in nobody else's vocabulary. Well, the ER shouldn't be in nobody's vocabulary. and the ending with the A is really just for people of my skin color to unify each other. You know, that's how we say what's up, that's how we greet each other. We turned that derogatory word into slang and to make us, you know, more of a community, more of a, more of a close, you know.
Byron, I know you had some thoughts on that in our conversation earlier too.
I mean, that word, when you hear it at first, you're just like, oh my God, he just said the word. But like once you really think about it, it's like really hurtful to like us, cause like they're acknowledging that, you know, we once owned you, you know, we sold y'all, like y'all were below us, you know. So that just really makes you think like that's what you think about us, you know. But us using the ending with an A, that brings our people together, and that community of us, like, it just empowers us, saying the one with the A. And like, just from personal experience myself, I've been called that word more times than I can count on my fingers. Just from like back home, I mean, other states here. I mean, just hearing it at first, you're just really shocked, like, man, this person really doesn't even know me, you know? Like, that really hurts, so.
And to piggyback off Byron, with my personal experiences, I know that it was a situation here that a person thought it was okay to say that word in front of a group of not only just women, but a mixed group of black women and white women, where he thought it was okay to say that word describing just it being in songs. You know, even when you're describing it in songs or saying that that's that, it's still not okay at the end of the day. Like, that word should never be in nobody's vocabulary. And I also had another situation in class where, we'll come back to that, never mind. We'll come back to that.
I think the rule is for individuals who don't have your skin color. I believe the rule is never say that word ever, 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 ever. Right?
Yes.
Okay.
In our earlier conversation, Byron had made a comment of, like, he may say it to you, like, hey, like, I look at you as a brother. And we both kind of laughed because it was like, well, even if you two were never going to say that back. Like,
yeah.
You know.
For the record, Byron's never looked at me and been like, you're a brother. That's never happened.
Okay, so as a person of color, what are just some daily obstacles that you face?
Some daily obstacles that I face is like just how people. It's just how people look. It's just how people look at me. You know how some people like. It'll even just be me walking through Walmart and like I'm getting all these different types of looks and stares that makes me uncomfortable, you know, just because even when my hair is just done or if I got on lashes or, you know, they look at me like I'm a whole different, like I'm not human almost, like I'm exotic, you know. Yeah, just a little bit.
And just with me, you know, driving around, even like whenever I see a police car, you know, I'm turning down my music, riding real slow below the speed limit, because, you know, you get scared to get pulled over, because back home, I got pulled over for nothing at least 4 times. And each time that I got pulled over back home is because they said my insurance was expired. And each time I showed them my insurance, then they'll switch it up. Oh, you were speeding. You know, they try to get you just like that. But I mean, some obstacles I face, you know, I'm tall, I'm black, I got tattoos, I got piercings, you know, my hair's done. They look at me, they're like, you know, you just get that look and you can feel it. Like, you can literally feel that look or that stare or that attitude from other people. Like, even when I'm in Walmart, you know, I'm just going through Walmart, and you can see people across the aisle just looking. Or even at the mall. You just, at the mall with your teammates or with your friends, and you'll see someone across the way. Oh, look at them. I know they're up to no good, so.
You bring up car, like what it's like when you're driving. I don't want to say I struggle with white privilege, but I don't really understand it, I guess, And I was listening to a podcast on the way home last week, and it was two older gentlemen. One was white and one was African American, and it was right after the George Floyd, and the white guy called his friend and said, "What was it like growing up in America for you?" And he said, he answered it with a question. He said, "How did you teach your daughter to drive? What was the first thing you told her?" And the guy said, "Well, I told her to, check her mirrors, adjust her seat, those things." And the father told him, he said, "You want to know the first thing I told my son was? To pull your wallet out of your back pocket, because that could save your life." And it was just eye-opening to me that it's like, oh, those are little things that I don't even think about. But,
Aaron, you shared a story with us.
Yes.
When we were talking.
Yes, it is. Do you guys mind? It's me, Abby, Allison, and Ariana. We're all different colors. Abby's Mexican. Allison's Caucasian. I'm African American, and Ariana is mixed. So we got pulled over one day, and all of our reactions to getting pulled over was different. Me, I'm nervous, like I'm shaking. I'm sitting there quiet, like looking straight, having my hands on my lap so that they're seen. The two in the front, they're calm, they're like, "Aaron, chill out, you're doing too much." And I'm like, "No, this is kind of, this is my work. I am the only one in the car that looks like me, And they're all just trying to calm me down. But it's just crazy seeing all of our different reactions to what's about to happen, like to the situation. That was mind-blowing, and it was really a learning experience for me to see all of our different reactions and how we reacted to that. It was, yeah.
for sure. I know we talked about, at one point we talked about shirts that are offensive, and I'm not even sure what the story was, but you were talking about, well, like a shirt makes me feel a certain way, and I said, hold up, like what do you mean? Like what shirt is offensive?
So I often see different symbols and signs and shirts that some people wear that we take it different, we interpret it different from how other people wear it. Like, it's a shirt that I've seen that had the American flag on it, but in a skull face with a skull was, American flag was painted on this skull on this shirt. And that was, that's scary to us. That's scary to me because it's like, it just means different to us because America had,
We have a hard history.
and I don't know how to, I'm struggling right now. Go into details of this.
Yeah, sorry, I'm not on the same page as you.
All right. So along with shirts, there's like flags, stickers or something that really sets you off. So, this is another question that we had, just like the Confederate flag. Like, that automatically shuts me down. Confederate flags to me means that goes back to slavery. The southern states, they owned us. So my initial thought when I see a Confederate flag is, stay away from him. They could possibly be racist. And so, certain stuff like she said, skulls or gonna say, the American flag with the little blue strip. I mean, that's one. Or even just like different ones, like there's just certain ones that just like you see it and you're just like I'm gonna stay away from that person. It doesn't mean like I see you as that, but just the fact that you have that is just offsetting.
Maybe makes you question your safety.
I think
Yeah.
it isn't tricky, but it can kind of feel tricky. So because you want to justify and you want to say, well, no, I'm not, like, this isn't a racist symbol. This is a historical, right? The danger, the problem is that if I know that Byron, if that triggers you like that, if you have that reaction, then I shouldn't have those symbols or those shirts or flags or whatever it is. There's no amount of justification that should hold on to those things if they're causing a whole group of people that kind of pain. And I think we have to wrestle with that. I think we have to get past our own defenses and being made to feel bad, whatever it is, and just say, actually, no, this is wrong.
Yeah, why do I need to hold on to
Yeah.
that? Yeah. Okay, so when you hear the phrase Black Lives Matter, what does that mean to you guys?
To me, Black Lives Matter, that whole movement was empowering. It was something to lift us, for us to be joined as together. It was like we was talking so much, and we tried to come peacefully when a whole bunch of things was still going on, where our black men and some black women was still getting killed by the police. That whole movement was just to make a bigger voice, just to be heard in a different way. If we're going to y'all talking and we're having these peaceful protests and we're doing all this, we might have to go to the extra step for y'all to actually hear us and for y'all to understand our pains and what we actually feel when that whole situation was going down.
So when I hear Black Lives Matter, it's more of a, empowerment, because, a lot of people don't even think about like our daily struggles, being looked at or worrying about if I'm gonna come home tonight. Like I've had a friend that was killed by a white police officer, and just like having it so close to you, like it brings it to a whole different level. And we're not saying like only Black Lives Matter. We're saying we need y'all to realize that we are going through something right now, and we want y'all to, help us, It's not saying, oh, y'all don't matter though, but we do. It's not what we're saying. Like, we want y'all to recognize
It's like
what's going on.
right now. It's like right now, if we were to be like, yeah, I know Ukraine's going through some stuff, but all countries matter.
Right.
Like, that would be dumb. Like, that's silly.
I heard it said too, like when it is no longer a question of Black Lives Matters, it's an affirmation.
Yeah.
Like, yes, then that's when, yeah.
Sorry.
So, how does it make you feel, like, if I wear a Black Lives Matter shirt? Or, for that matter, if I'm just a random person standing next to you in Walmart and I have on a Black Lives Matter shirt?
I mean, that just tells me, like, it's working. Like my car, I had a Black Lives Matter sticker at the end of my mirror, and this past summer, like, someone tried to take it off. That tells me, like, there's still people out there that doesn't even believe Black lives actually matter. And so if I see someone of a different race or culture wears Black Lives Matter, that just means, like, at least if one person starts believing, like, everybody else can too.
And I feel the same way basically about what Byron said. I've also experienced my friend dying. I was probably 13 when one of my friends got shot by the police and they killed him with his hands up. So the Black Lives Matter movement, that's a whole different feeling for me. It gives me a whole different drive and a whole different rush because that was one of the first deaths I experienced, and it came from a police killing my friend, and his hands was up, like, and we would play at the park with each other, we'll see each other. You know, that was one of my best friends that got killed. So I just think that everybody needs to have a tolerance. I was talking to my friend the other day, and her definition of tolerance was beautiful. She said that tolerance means to her showing and having a level of respect towards things or people even when they don't serve you or you don't agree with them. At the end of the day, I feel like everybody still just needs to have a level of respect for the differences in between us and also love, because that's what it's all about, you know what I'm saying? We all are different, and God made us all differently, and it all comes to just loving each other and their differences in every way.
This went a lot faster than I envisioned it going, because we're through our questions.
No, we're not. You skipped some.
Well, I was reading them. I thought I had them all. Well, then you ask them.
Do you feel?
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. You saw what you skipped.
My bad.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's the one.
Tell me about
There it is.
Tell me about your experience here in McPherson, your experience here at Central Christian College. Do you feel like you've been racially profiled in our community or in our campus community? Talk a little about that.
Indeed.
Indeed. And thank you for asking.
I have experienced me being racially profiled, and my peers have. It was one situation when we're in class, minding our business, doing what we need to do to get done. The professor comes and talks to us or whatever, and he's making small talk, asking us what we like to do, and yada, yada, yada. I told him, well, I do hair, you know, I own a little hair care business, I make money or whatever. And then my friend said, yeah, I like to make money too, pretty much. And then he laughed, and it was like, legally? Like, he questioned if it was legal the way he made money. And we just took a minute to be like, whoa, okay, whoa. What made you question this black man next to me if he's making money legal or illegally? And he had no clue who he is. Like, and if he did, he'll know that it's very legal and he's kind of rich, you know? That's simple as so I could say it. That was one instance, and he tried to go and speak and tried to go look for help and guidance, and administrators played it off as a joke, like it was just a joke. Couple weeks later, I had another incident with the teacher, and he was just like, another small talk thing in the middle of class. He was like, "Any, meeny, miny, mo," and then nobody understood it, but he laughed and was like, "Ha ha ha! Does anybody even say that anymore? It's probably racist." And I'm just like, okay, how is any, many, miny, mo racist? Like, that's not the first thing that comes to your head, but the root of that is any, miny, miny, mo, catch a nigger by the toe. So that's the first thing that popped up in his head when he thought of any, miny, miny, mo, you know? And who thought of it like that, you know what I'm saying? So immediately I got up, walked out of the class, called my dad, figured out how to handle the situation, and then I confronted the teacher professionally, calmly, and just let him know that that was ignorant of you to say that, and I know you don't understand, and I'm just here to educate you. I just want to give you my perspective of how that affected me and my peer, because even throughout the conversation, the teacher never apologized for hurting my feelings or hurting my friends or anything like that.
Well, and I think if you are approached, because in what we've talked about, You took time and you gathered your thoughts. And I think that that's important. Like you came in a way that you could have your head held high
Yes.
after the conversation was over. And I think on the flip side of that, like, we need to not be defensive,
Yes.
you know, and that's hard to do, you know, when someone comes and says, hey, you did this, we need to break down barriers and say, oh, like, I'm so sorry.
Especially with something like racism,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because I don't want to be racist. And so if I do something that's racist and you were to call me out on it, my knee jerk is to be like, no, I'm not racist. Let me list all my African American friends, right? Like, or like whatever the thing. I watch Atlanta. It's a great show. You know, like whatever the thing is. Instead of being humble, Atlanta's a good show, y'all. You should watch it. Instead of being humble enough to be able to say, oh, apparently that was racist, and I'm so sorry, and thank you for helping me know that to correct my own behavior.
Yeah, and it then comes back to human, like, I'm sorry that I hurt you, you know?
Yeah. Byron, same question.
So in McPherson, I'll go to Walmart, and you know, like, you could always feel somebody, you know, walking behind you, or, you know, you can feel someone watching you just do your thing, like, because there's a stereotype that, you know, black people are gonna steal, you know, but like, not everybody does it. I know there's some that do it, but not all of us do it, because, you know, we got things to lose, or, you know, here at Central, I know someone that goes here now, but this professor doesn't work here anymore. He just so happened to see her at a store or whatever. She asked him, hey, how you doing or whatever? He's like, good. So you're about to graduate, right? Yeah, I'm about to graduate. So she said something that was pretty offsetting to him. Are you gonna be in the unemployment line or not? I mean, that right there just.
So I want to make sure that girl sees professor in Walmart. Professor says, oh, hey, you're about to graduate soon. She says, yeah. The professor says, are you going to be in the unemployment line
Yeah, what
soon?
are you going to do, collect unemployment?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just want to make sure that I heard the story correctly.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And so just me personally, I've had an experience here my freshman year where I was in class, you know, it was just a regular class day. It's me, a few of my teammates who are also black. You know, we're just writing down notes, and, you know, the teacher's just going on, and then you just hear blah, 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 nigger, blah, 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 blah. And then, you know, we all just looked up, you know, look at each other like, we just hear that? Like at first you're just like shocked, like, man, he could just say that willingly. You know, he just flew out his mouth just like it's in his vocabulary. He does this on a regular. It was just so in rhythm with what he was saying, like he didn't think twice about what he was saying. And so like after class, like we all go to the caf and we're just talking about it, like, man, did he really just say that? And we know your initial reaction is just like, wow. But like once you start thinking about it, you get angry, you get mad, and like, and you want to retaliate, but you can't because you know that's gonna fall back on you. You know, but I mean,
And that's where you and I talked about, like, you know, gathering yourself, and it's okay for you to go and say, you know, even if it is later, say, hey, this is how that made me feel. And one of the students that I talked to this last semester, I encouraged that. And, you know, not all, but some people just, you know, don't understand, I guess, that, you know, that's not acceptable. And, you know, the student that went and talked to someone said, hey, you know, I had a really good conversation because I said, this is how this makes me feel. And I think that that's important, that if it happens, you're okay to go and say, this is how this made me feel, because that's educating them. And again, you're holding your head high and saying, okay, I've said what I needed to say in a polite way. Now what they do with that information is up to them.
And piggybacking on what she said, back home, if you hear that and, you try to, like, hey, like, don't say that, that's not cool. Like, some people actually really take offense to that. Like, they will, like, real life shoot you or, hurt you for saying something back for that. And, like, that's why, like, some of us don't even say anything because, we grew up seeing that. And so we just brush it off and just like, it's just another day.
I think what's difficult is that you're not allowed to be angry in the moment, and I think that sucks. I think that you feel that you have to get your crap together and be composed and offer a rational explanation as to why something offended you, rather than being able to show the hurt and the anger in the moment. And I just want to acknowledge that sucks, and I'm sorry that that's the reality. So I guess I just want to say that you have a right to be angry. That doesn't, you are better than me, and that I don't know that I'd be able to be rational to the point that you've had to learn to be.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Because it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard. But it's also something that you have to do, or you'll be looked at as like the angry black woman that's just going off because her feelings was hurt. It definitely matters how you deliver your message, because the other person will close off. Because at that point, you're probably going off on them. If you're angry, you're snapping,
Yeah.
Instead of actually focusing on educating them. Like, even when I did confront my teacher in the class, I know it was a student that looked at it as disruptive, and like that I was being a distraction to the class when I was just standing up for me and my color, and like how you're offending me and my black man next to me, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's hard trying to be reasonable and, trying to lay it all out on the table and still be open-minded when people offend you throughout the conversation when you're trying to educate,
Well, and this is probably going to come out wrong, but like, you're still a kid, and we're asking you to, make big grown-up moves. So to respond calmly and collected, that's hard.
So Byron and Aaron, as we're wrapping this up, I think it takes big guts to sit up here in front of your peers and have this conversation, to be willing to share. So one last question, it's not on the sheet, so don't be afraid, it's an easy one, maybe. What's your hope in doing this? Like, why subject yourself to this moment? What's your hope for Central Christian College, for this campus, as it relates to these things?
For me, I just hope to educate y'all, and I just hope that y'all don't take it the wrong way. We're just, just trying to voice our concerns and what we go through, so that way y'all could think twice before y'all do something or say something, because there's people in this world that won't take it lightly. Like, they will literally, like, plot against you or set you up, because, not gonna lie, there's some people back home that I know that they're on that. Like, you say something wrong to them, like, you're gone. Like, literally. So, just seeing that back home, and, I know that's not the right way, but that's just how it is. And I just hope that y'all don't take it the wrong way, don't be ignorant or, closed ears or closed-minded. I just hope that y'all hear us.
And my hope out of this is just for everybody to be aware, for us to maybe come together as a unity, maybe we can just for us to be more unified. Like, I hope that throughout this, I gave y'all an insight about how I was raised and how we view things as African Americans. And I'm not speaking for all of us, but my perspective of things, I hope that y'all understand and that y'all hear it and, process it and learn. Like Byron said, I hope that this is an educational moment for everybody. And that it brings us together as a community at Citrus Christian College because it's hard to find a lot of diversity here, or especially within the staff. Who are we supposed to go to? Hopefully this is opens up the floor. We can have conversations, and anybody can ask me a question if y'all have more outside of this, so we can have a deep talk and really just, so y'all could get a better understanding of us,
You didn't ask me, but I'm going to tell you what my hope is. You guys are the next generation. You're going out in the world to be the workforce. And if we can have these conversations here, then you can go out and have these conversations in the world where it's a much bigger scale. And you can help change the world. Yeah, that's my hope.
So this is not a conversation where you sit and watch us do this thing and then you go back to life as normal. Our hope is that there'll be more conversations like this. Our hope is that this is the beginning of a conversation that maybe continues in the CAF, and it continues on your wing, and it continues in your rooms and in your classrooms, but also that we'll do more of this up here like this in the future. And as we close this morning, I want to read a scripture to you that's been really powerful to me as I have learned from Aaron and from Byron. And that's what when we said we were going to do this, I was like, look, I'm like a straight white guy. I don't have anything to offer to this conversation other than to learn and to ask questions. And there's this scripture that in that posture has stood out to me. So I want to read this to you, and then we're going to pray together, and then you're dismissed this morning. So this is Jesus talking in the Sermon on the Mount. And in Matthew chapter 5, he says this. He says, therefore, if you're offering your gift at the altar, so if you're in worship, if you're worshiping God, and you're there, and you remember that your brother has something against you, leave your gift there in front of the altar. First go and be reconciled to your brother, then come and offer your gift. I want you to listen to this specifically because I think when we read it backwards from what it's actually saying. Jesus says that you remember that someone has something against you. Not that you're there and you remember that you're ticked off at someone, so you need to go make that better before you can worship. It says if you're there and you know that someone has something against you, stop and make that right. Stop and make that right before you can continue. If you know that someone has something against you, stop. Go make that right. Let me pray with you. So God, we thank you for this space. We thank you for honest conversation. We thank you for hard conversation. We thank you for those parts of us that were challenged today. We thank you for the ways that it might have even made us feel uncomfortable. And God, I pray that you would give us wisdom. I pray that you would give us a sense of hope and a sense of unity as we leave this space. God, I pray this would be the beginning of a conversation. So we give you today. I pray a blessing on these students as they continue to try to finish strong. And we ask this in Jesus' name. And everybody said, amen. You are dismissed.